Hey, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk About Things and Stuff, where we talk about things and also stuff. And I'm your friendly neighborhood youth guy, Matt, and this is my really good friend, Katelyn. Say hello, Katelyn.
Hi.
Yeah, awesome. So in this whole thing, we're just going to be talking about things and stuff. And if you have suggestions for things that you'd like for us to talk about, shoot them our direction. Leave them in the comments, and we will hit everything that almost everything that you could possibly want to talk about. And we'll take your suggestions all day long, twice on Sundays, and it's going to be a good time. All right. So, hey, Katelyn, how you doing today?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm real good.
I can tell.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So here's what we want you to do in the comments or in your own kind of thing. We want to be positive. We want you to post a picture of yourself or a video doing something that's like your absolute favorite thing in the world. It could be you doing something that you love to do, or it could just be like a piece of an apple pie because that's your favorite thing that you really love. What's your favorite thing in the world?
The first thing that comes to my mind is playing tennis.
Tennis?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any pictures of yourself playing tennis?
I'm sure I do. My grandma is known for taking pictures, and she sent me a handful of them from high school.
Nice.
So.
Right on. Do you play tennis now?
Occasionally. I try to as often as I can, but it's kind of hard to play tennis by yourself.
Okay. That's true. It's called racquetball. I love racquetball because that's something you can play by yourself. And I tend to have to play things that you can play by yourself. So anyway, but that's a whole other conversation. My favorite thing, oh gosh, I didn't even think, probably eating tacos. So I would have to have a mouthful of maybe burrito. I could eat a burrito, and that would be one of my favorite things.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard for me to really have any one favorite thing. Mm-hmm. So there's like a range of things.
Right.
Like I love to run. So, that's one thing. But it's in a different category for me than like eating tacos. You know what I mean? Do you feel that? All right. So anyway, leave a picture or a video of you doing your favorite thing or just a picture of your favorite thing. So yeah, there you go. So hey, Katelyn, what have you been consuming in the cultural arena lately?
In the cultural arena, as of lately, I finished the last few episodes of the second season of The Summer I Turned Pretty.
The Summer I Turned Pretty?
Yes.
Awesome.
And there's a lot that goes on. And from what I understand, within a span of a week's time, like in the show, they are... there's all kinds of romantic turns and
I see.
Like life event turns of the situation of the Fisher brothers trying to save their beach house and all the things within that.
All right, so I've never seen. I saw the first 3 or 4 episodes of the series. So who are the Fisher brothers? Help me understand what's going on here.
So I would deem the 4 main characters are Belly and Stephen Conklin, and then Jeremiah and Conrad Fisher. And then their moms are best friends, and they usually spend every summer together at the Fishers' beach house.
Okay.
And so they've grown up with each other.
All right.
And so Belly's had crushes on several people, including the Fisher brothers.
Okay.
And so there's the romantic, love triangle between the 2 Fisher brothers and Belly.
The 2 Fisher brothers have romance?
No.
Oh,
no.
With Belly.
With Belly.
Okay. All right. So Belly, my belly get in my belly kind of belly?
That's her nickname that they gave her as a kid, I assume. Because that's how she's most commonly addressed. But her, legal name is Isabel.
Okay.
But they
Isabel.
They call her...
Okay, Belle, Belly.
Yes.
I get it. All right, so who turns pretty?
The title comes from the first, because it's all based off a series of books.
Okay.
And The Summer I Turned Pretty is the first book, and it's when all of when Conrad and Jeremiah see Belly for more than just, like, a sister that they, like, from another mother kind of thing.
Okay.
And...
a sister from another mother.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so they see her as more, and they realize they have feelings for her. So in the sense of she's developed in...
So Belly has turned pretty.
Yes. Belly is the one to turn pretty.
All right. Fantastic.
Right.
And then through a bunch of romantic entanglements, you get to season 2.
Yes.
And the last few episodes. Any major things without spoilers?
I mean, like, end of the first season, she had been with each brother in some fashion. And so by the end of season 2, she chooses one of them. And it seems to be, like, a long-term commitment, hopefully. But with it being teenagers and everything and being dramatic TV.
I'm 17 years old and I've found the love of my life, which I'm going to stay with.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I get that. And it works out that way for some.
Some.
No.
It's just not it's not the common thing of finding your true love at 17.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., rewatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I love it. I love Marvel, pretty much everything Marvel except for, what's the Hulk lawyer one?
She-Hulk?
She-Hulk, that's the one. I hated that one, but I did watch that one all the way through so far.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I watched, I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm about halfway through the second season for like the 4th or 5th time. But I never did watch the last season. Like they've wrapped up the whole series, but I never got around to watching that last season. And so whenever a series concludes that I want to catch that last season, I always watch the whole thing straight through as quickly as I can. Which usually takes a few months. And so anyway, as quickly as I can, so I get the history and the context and, all of the characters, backstories and all that stuff. The problem though, and this is a beef that I have with most science fiction these days, fantasy stuff, is that they bring in multiverse stuff and they bring in time travel. So the timeline, the linear timeline that you have, where you have all of this character development, you have all of these things that have happened to these characters, it's like all that goes right out the window. You can change the story any way you want. The Flash lost me when they brought in the multiverse because a guy who died then came back and then died again and then came back again just because there were like several multiverse options. And so there was one episode of The Flash where like 6 versions of this guy were standing in the same room and they're like talking to each other, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen, and I've never been back to The Flash since then. But anyway, back to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Back to S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
So I'm watching it up back through, and I love tracing the story of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, by the way, if you've never seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's about Agent Coulson, who dies in the first Avengers movie. Spoiler alert. But Nick Fury actually brings him back to life, which you learn in the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so then the story goes from that first episode throughout the series, and he's rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. after Hydra makes itself known and destroys S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers and all of that stuff, and you can track the story of the Avengers movies throughout the story of the series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They wrapped up the series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I never went back and have had the chance to actually watch that. So it's on Disney Plus. I'll be finishing that out and then over the next few months, and I'm really excited. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Hurricane Idalia. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but whenever I see those letters put in that order, I think. My mind puts the V at the beginning, and I've always grown up with it being Vidalia onions, and so I just think Idalia just naturally because Vidalia.
See, the way I think I've heard it on the news, and then just of how I interpreted it would be pronounced was Idalia, because I think of Dahlia and then just
like
add
the flower.
Yes.
Okay.
And so then I just add an I with an like Dahlia.
So it's not Idalia, like Idalia, like
No.
iCarly, like, but Idalia.
No, it's not a
Idalia.
Going back to grammar.
Idalia, not Idalia.
Idalia.
I. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Hurricane Idalia.
Idalia. That's how
Idalia.
You can pronounce it however you like.
I'm gonna pronounce it Idalia because that's just who I am. That's how I'm comfortable doing it. So Hurricane Idalia went through Florida and caused lots of damage, and it hit as a hurricane category 3 and quickly diminished into a tropical storm. But it was, this major deal, and these hurricanes come through all the time, and really we should be praying for the people who are rebuilding their lives and living in those tropical areas. They encounter these tropical storms. They live with their houses on stilts, which I suppose is kind of their right to choose where they live, and so all of that. But it seems like every year or every other year, about the same region of the country is having these like mandatory evacuations for these natural disasters. Right. I remember watching live footage of Hurricane Katrina, and it was just devastating, and lines heading out of New Orleans, and it was this huge major deal for several weeks, and it still has this has made this heavy imprint on our country. But anyway, so like as a country boy growing up in Arkansas, I would look at these kinds of deals and be like, well, why would you evacuate? You can handle anything pretty much, right? I would either think that, or, well, the government told them to leave, they didn't leave, so it's their fault if their house falls in on them, kind of thing. So that's just kind of my mindset where I grew up, and how I was when I was growing up. So here's my question for you. All right, hurricanes are coming.
Okay.
Right, you're living on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Mandatory evacuation. What is, like, the orders come down from state government? What do you do?
So initially, I mean, if you're basing it on, like, if I had lived in Missouri my entire life and then recently moved down to Florida, I would be one to evacuate because I've never experienced a hurricane and lived through one to see, what can I handle, what can I not handle. So I would evacuate, but I feel like easily could get caught in traffic of everyone else deciding who chose to leave. Right. And like
everybody's leaving on the same highway at the same time.
And I mean, it'd be like rush hour.
And you're stuck on the highway and hurricane comes through anyway, right? Yeah.
I mean, because like when you were talking of, like, the thought came across my mind of, some like people stay in their homes and board up or however they choose to prepare. Well, it makes me think of, like, in the Midwest when it's tornado season. Yeah. A lot of people, like, they'll stand outside for a storm and watch for a tornado. Like, my dad and I will do that. Of, we're not intimidated by it because we're used to it. We know the power that tornadoes can have and the destruction they can bring, but until it's, like, more of a threat to us, we'll just go out and watch it. Yeah. So I wonder if people down, like, in Florida or other hurricane, like, in the line of hurricanes are used to that or do something similar. They're like standing out on their porch drinking coffee, watching the cars fly by as the hurricane picks them up. They're like strapped in to their front porch or something. Yeah. Like did you ever watch Forrest Gump? Yes. Like Lieutenant Dan strapped onto the mast of the USS Jenny. Yes. Hollering at God in the middle of a hurricane. Yeah. Yeah. So have you ever known somebody who was like that? Like, government can't tell me what to do. I'm staying. I mean, growing up where I have, I feel like there's a lot that they'll have their own thoughts and opinions on things that the government tells us to do. Yeah. I mean, throw back to COVID. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. There's plenty of that. Don't bring that up. Yeah. It's just the first thing I thought. No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but get the government out of my business. Yes. Yeah. 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 Okay, so here's another question. All right, would you rather live through the threat of a tornado or the threat of a hurricane? Tornado. Like imminent. You'd rather have, because it's gone.
Storm's here, storm's gone, it's done.
Yeah. And I've been through a couple of scenarios. They've been super minor of actual tornadoes touching down within like, I don't know, a couple miles of me.
Yeah.
And having gone through that, one as a kid in elementary and then one, I think, high school.
Yeah.
And they both ended up being minor, but that's what the experience I have at this moment, and I would rather not try and go through a hurricane without any prior knowledge.
Right. Well, okay, so I heard it said like this: a hurricane, you can see it coming. Like forecasters are like, there is a hurricane coming your direction. Like a tornado, it's just boom here and it's gone and leaves destruction in its wake.
That is very true.
Did I ever tell you that that I lived through, or like a tornado completely destroyed the town where I went to college? And actually, I moved here from that town, and in 1997, in March, it just kind of like I was in a dorm room, and a quarter mile away from that dorm room, just complete destruction. Like it lifted up and essentially went right over our heads right at that point. It was pretty intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never told me that.
But guess what we were doing right before that happened? We were standing out on the lawn trying to see it, trying to see the tornado, but we couldn't, and then we went back inside. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was not very smart.
Yeah, it's funny watching the complete opposite that my parents are.
Yeah.
My dad is one that he'll stay out to the last minute of, watching the storm come and see if he can spot or whatever.
Yeah.
And then my mom will be the one, once they give, warning versus a watch, she'll be down in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
She'll be...
Do you put a mattress over your head, like in the bathtub?
No.
Encase yourself like a turtle?
Well, we have an actual basement that's, in ground.
Okay.
So... versus having to go into a bathroom.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. So, what about you? What would you do if the government came in, the state government said there's a hurricane coming, you gotta leave? What is your first move? What do you do in response to that? Leave your answer in the comments section. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Please leave your comments and compliments. Don't forget to post your favorite stuff in the comments section, and we will see you again next time.